starts with a little hawk. He was a little boy, just around 10, and he's waiting in his bed for his grandpa, because his grandpa tells stories, and a lot of stories of ancient, of his own tribe. And there starts this book with. And Karlien, my daughter, she tells you the story, one of the stories. Yes?
Hello everyone. I'm gonna read to you one of the stories that Casper wrote. Now you closed the book, so I lost which story, and there you go. Thanks for listening. It's called Empty Ghosts, and accompanied by Joe on the flute. It had been a half moon since the 4 warriors had returned from the hunt with a large buffalo. The chieftain came running across the field towards his pit house. 4 children followed him, who boarded the pit house with him. They were Alanquin, Titanka, Loan, and Anasazi. It was dusk inside the pit house. A dim light shone from above through the opening. A kettle of herbal water was gently boiling on the fire. The chieftain invited the children to listen to their ideas. After all, wisdom starts at a young age. The children looked around in amazement. They had never been in the great chieftain pit house before. They thought it was off limits to them and never expected to ever be allowed in there. They received a special honor. The chieftain grunted and sat down. A smart little fellow, 17 winters, Alanquin was confident and convinced of his own strength. He was always at the far front when something had to be done. He liked to be in control of the business, although little of it came of it due to his age. Titanka, on the other hand, was a quiet boy, a thinker who spoke no more than necessary, but his words often hit the mark. Clearly a person with vision. He was very sensitive and creative, but not yet old enough to wear a feather. Titanka was the son of Chief Patelashiro, a family that had always been closely involved in the fortunes of the tribe. And then you had Anasazi. She was 18 winters old. Anasazi was very rebellious and unruly. In everything she did and said, there was a form of resistance in her words. It always had to be different, and her adolescence screams often died down. But in the meantime, it changed the minds of the tribal elders, without it becoming clear that actually Anasazi was the instigator of this. And then there was Lonan. Lonan was the funniest of the bunch. She was full of teasing and always up for a joke. Everyone liked Lonan because she always brought happiness. She was the youngest of the bunch with 16 winters. And the 4 children looked around uncomfortably and sat down anyway. A bit uncomfortable, but at the same time also curious about what was to come. Suddenly, also the shaman Kokopelli stepped inside. The shaman was an impressive sight. The many ornaments and feathers made him look bigger than he really was. The paintings on his face made him almost unrecognizable. This time he had brought his carved flute with him. Only a few in the tribe could make such a beautiful flute, and it was very old. He began to make music softly. The chieftain took a good seat. The children were impressed and looked anxiously at the great chief. The chieftain cleared his throat and took a deep breath. His gaze frozen, he looked around, as if checking everyone present first. "My mind is empty," he began. "For my people I have done whatever it takes to make the tribe survive. I see that my captains cannot see any further, while I hope they would come up with new ideas. My mind is empty because I can no longer think of what else I could do. The warriors provide food, but it is not enough to feed our people. They are waiting to see what will happen. The tribal elders seem powerless to make the people into the new era. My mind is empty." The shaman now began to gently again blow the flute. Extra herbs were placed in the cooking pot, and the scent spread in the pit house. The children watched all these rituals with open mouth. The shaman continued his rituals and didn't speak. The silence was broken by Lowen. "I hear you are dissatisfied with our leaders. What do you think about that yourself?" She asked her question sincerely and with youthful candor. The chieftain looked up for a moment at this direct question. He knew that kids didn't mince any words. "What do I think of that?" said the chieftain. Lowen continued. "Well, it seems that our leaders are not adequately telling their clan members what to do, except for you." The chieftain remained silent. Was it true that the chieftain was the only one who was concerned about the survival of the tribe? And was it true that everyone did not really try hard enough? The chieftain remained lost in thought, and the shaman changed his rhythm. Algonquin felt that there was room to add something as well. "I see that everyone is busy with day-to-day care for survival. I also notice that because there's hardly any attention for us children. I hardly speak to my father, and my mother only tells me what to do. Nobody asks how I am or how my sisters are doing. I think that's a shame. If I would later be a leader of our clan, I would like to do it differently." His words filled the pit house and resonated for a long time. Do it differently, think differently, look differently, and do the same thing but differently? What else? Anasazi stirred. "If I were a great chieftain, then I would always be traveling." All the children laughed. The chieftain thought and asked, "You would travel, and then where would you be going?" Anasazi thought for a moment, and then said, "If you dare to get lost, you will always find new ways." Suddenly, the shaman stopped his rituals. Everyone looked at him and waited for what was to follow, but nothing followed. The silence lingered for a long time. He got up slowly, walked to the exit, and left without saying a word. The group was left amazed. The conversation seemed almost over until Titanka spoke. "Today, the new leaders of our tribe were born. We will learn our lessons to one day assist our people as tribal elders or as chief. All you need to do is create space for the people to free themselves, freeing from the feeling that everything the people do is in the service of survival. I think life itself is just as important." The chieftain considered what the children had said. Listening to the wisdom of children, he thought, "What do they want to tell me? The rituals, giving space, the emptiness, the traveling, how does it all relate to each other? For years I have led my people to green pastures and endured wars. I have well rewarded my ancestors and the gods. Partly because of my actions, the people have grown. The seasons have become drier and more unpredictable. Maybe it is time for a new leader." Or are the people too many? Should we part our ways? All these questions went through his mind. He murmured his prayers softly, and the children were waiting patiently. The fire smoldered a bit, and a small wisp of smoke curled upwards. It was then that Joaquini, his wife, entered the pit house. She's holding a large basket of fruit. Freshly picked, she said. The children looked up happily. Yummy, they cried in unison. Joaquini passed the basket around and joined it. The women outside saw that you were allowed to go with the chieftain. Very unusual. I'm curious what message you're going out with now, Joaquini said. Nobody had thought that this unusual meeting might raise questions. Lowen immediately took the floor. I got to know the chieftain better. Finally, we are also involved in our future. Joaquini nodded kindly and looked around the circle. I do not know yet, said Titonka. So much has been said, I still have to process all the words and thoughts. But I go out as a privileged person, proud and happy. Anasazi looked up and said, I hope the chieftain will appreciate our contribution. After all, it is about what you do with it and what choices you make. It won't be easy to deal with the pain of change, but the more joy it brings you. The chieftain looked at Joaquini and thoughtfully said, the children have given me new insights. We are too stuck in our rituals and are too attached to our hunting grounds. At a full moon, I want to address our people during the annual celebration. We need to see how we can break our regular habits while respecting what is. The chieftain threw extra wood on the fire to amplify the smells even more. The children, like Joaquini, were surprised by the chieftain's move. With this announcement, they understood that the meeting was over. The chieftain had heard enough and made his choices. The children got up quietly and made ready to leave. When they got out of the pit house, they saw a group of women standing outside. They looked at the children with questioning looks of curiosity. The children walked directly to their own pit house to share their stories. It was soon rumored that the chieftain was coming up with an important message. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. This is the writer of the story, Pastor.
Thank you, Karlien. Thank you, Joe, for the support in the flute. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Joe. Where is he? Paul? Oh. Thank you very much. Well, if you want to read the whole story, the book is over there. And what I tell is when you imagine to write a story, and you come all the way to Tucson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Casper.